worship like that. Come on, just worship like that. Just worship like that. That's the Lord.
Wake up! It's the Rich Living Morning Show with Bishop Richard Harper, lifting your spirit through gospel hits and conversations.
Yes, yes, yes. It's the Rich Living Morning Show where we bring you great gospel music and inspiring conversation. You know, the Rich Living Morning Show is always keeping up with culture and society. And it is Women's History Month. And certainly, even in my career as a minister, I have supported women, the roles of women in leadership, even in the church, as well as in the marketplace. And one thing about it, I'm a mama's boy. Y'all already know that. I'm a mama's boy and a granny's boy as well, a granny's grandbaby. So today I'm so excited to be kicking off this series for the month as we are celebrating Women's History Month. I am live, guys, on the Facebook page as well as the YouTube page, and you can join us there. And do me a favor, just go ahead and share. Just click the share button. Come on, join in. People do that when they come on Facebook Live. They say, come on in, come on in, come on in. I'm waiting for you. Everybody just come in right now and just click the share button, because my guest today has some wonderful things to share with us today that I believe will empower you, will impact your life in a positive way. And that's what we do here. We're all about empowerment. My guest today is none other than Dr. Melanie Lawson, also known as Doc Mel. She started her career in the Houston Independent School District as a public school teacher. She managed and conducted research for social science and behavioral medicine projects at the University of Houston. She served as a senior advisor to former Houston Mayor Lee P. Brown concerning public health issues. She is definitely qualified to be a speaker for Women's History Month. She's been named in the Who's Who Amongst Teachers, the Who's Who Among American Women, the Empire Who's Who Among Women in Education. Currently, she serves as the Executive Director for the School of Continuing Education for Texas Southern University. She's an Associate Professor in the College of Pharmacy and Health Services. The first, we're always blessed to have first on our show, the first African-American to receive a PhD in social work from the University of Houston. She holds a master's in public health from the University of Texas and a bachelor's degree, of course, from that great HBCU, Texas Southern University. Everyone, come on, help me welcome Dr. Lawson.
Good morning. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Doc Mel. How are you?
Listen, blessed on this beautiful day. It is actually a beautiful day here in Houston.
It is. It's a beautiful day in Houston, and I hope it's a beautiful day for everybody today, whatever the weather condition is. Just have a beautiful day, right?
Have a beautiful day.
Absolutely. Well, we are excited to have you here. You, of course, have an amazing career. You've experienced an amazing career, and you've accomplished a lot, as I read some of the highlights. But what we're getting into today is you are an inner spirit life coach, a social scientist. You are a lifestyle encourager as well. Tell us, what does that mean, a lifestyle encourager and an inner spirit life coach?
Well, as you know, Bishop, none of us have figured all of this out. Mm-hmm. None of us have figured all of this out. Mm-hmm. We're on this journey, and on this journey, There are helpers that come along the way.
Mm-hmm.
We receive what I like to call supernatural aid
Mm-hmm.
that helps to guide us.
Mm-hmm.
And so the inner spirit part comes from the supernatural aid that comes and helps guide
Mm-hmm.
me towards giving insight and direction. Whether
Mm-hmm.
people take it or not, it's what has been given to me in terms of guidance through
Mm-hmm.
my inner spirit. So I think it's important to be intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use that to encourage people,
Mm-hmm.
not having all the answers, because
Mm-hmm.
none of us have all the answers,
Mm-hmm.
but we can try to give some level of structure when people are going through certain things in their lives to help them remain grounded, to allow things to unfold in the way that it's meant to unfold. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have to deal with certain realities we may not want to deal with. And I tend to help people work out dealing with some realities they may not want to deal with.
Absolutely. And I've watched your podcast, and I told you I think you're tougher than Ayanla when it comes to the coaching. I watched some of your podcasts, and hopefully I'll be able to share some of your podcasts during this conversation so people can actually see you in action. And I think that's very important. Number one, you touched on spirit. And I believe that we're spirit first before anything. Even the Bible recognizes spirit, soul, and body. So we are first spirit. And most of the time, we don't pay attention to spirit and we don't listen to the voice that is within, right?
That inner voice. And I think it gets drowned.
Mm-hmm.
It gets drowned in a lot of the BS that is going on a daily basis, some of the
Mm-hmm.
drama, some of the things that are out of our control. And then there are many things that are in our control. So if we focus on what we can control and allow that spirit to guide us,
Mm-hmm.
it can help us get out of certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like when everything is good, it's like you don't need anybody. You don't need any help, right? So when everything's
Absolutely.
good, nobody's calling life coach when everything is good. It's like
Right.
my life is in shambles. I
Right.
don't know what to do. And so giving that kind of guidance, as a bishop, you do it as well as a coach. I like
Right.
it as well.
Right.
It's when things are falling apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's when people don't see any way out
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that they need that last part, which you hit on, that
Mm-hmm.
encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't think people realize how far encouragement can take a person.
Absolutely. And we need it. People
And
don't
we need it.
understand encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're balancing and weighing out certain life decisions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes having that push, the right
Mm-hmm.
push from the
Mm-hmm.
right person
Mm-hmm.
can kind of help you land better on
Mm-hmm.
the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important. So that's why I like to say lifestyle and relationship encourager,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I like to do. I like to push people and encourage people.
What brought you to this? You definitely have had a great career. And so now, along with the awesome career you have as an educator and in higher education, what has brought you to this point where you are empowering people? I feel a person that's a teacher, preacher, reacher, healer type person are very special people because people don't understand how much you give up and how much you take when you have given your life to help others become their best self and live their greatest life. What brought you to this place to where this has happened to you? Obviously, you've had some experiences that you gained from and you learned from, and then you decide, well, now I'm going to help other people get through those same challenges.
Exactly. I will tell you, first and foremost, my students really encouraged me along this process.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you know, when you're an educator, you meet all types of students
Mm-hmm.
that come from all kinds of backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they look to their bishop, their
Mm-hmm.
teacher, their professor when things are going on to kind of help them through some of the personal issues. Because education is not just about the academic aspects of
That's
it.
right.
It's a
Right.
holistic approach to a
Mm-hmm.
person. So it's mind, body, spirit. So it's holistic. It's not just what's in chapter 1, page 22. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. I feel that my students encouraged me to take some of the nuggets that I would talk about in class
Mm-hmm.
and expand it to a broader audience. And so when
Mm-hmm.
my children left for college and I was an empty nester
Mm-hmm.
and they went out of state for
Mm-hmm.
school, I had the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really did have the time now to focus on trying to transition into doing something like
Mm-hmm.
this. And then, of course, own personal life experiences help
Mm-hmm.
shape you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a breast cancer survivor
Mm-hmm.
and thriver.
Mm-hmm.
When the Bible speaks of going through the valley of the shadow of death,
Mm-hmm.
I know what that scripture means, And so I'm thinking of the people that are, and the women
Mm-hmm.
that have watched their husbands, their uncles, their sons, their fathers go to war in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
This is Women's Empowerment Month.
Mm-hmm.
And they are walking through the valley of the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, they may receive that phone call,
Mm-hmm.
but to fear not. I mean, we're talking about empowering people. Sometimes you ask the question, I'm going to tell you, sometimes certain life experiences
Mm-hmm.
deconstruct you in a
Mm-hmm.
way
Mm-hmm.
that it changes your outlook forever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you don't have that outlook sometimes if you've never had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I try to align those
Mm-hmm.
experiences with my value system, and then I use that to try to enrich and
Mm-hmm.
encourage others.
Let me ask you. Oh, that's so great. I see Christina Lockett is on. She commented and said, yes, speak. Absolutely. You're speaking truth and telling us some truth. In your work as a coach, what are some of the hard things? The Bible talks about the hard sayings of Jesus, because Jesus had some hard stuff sometimes. The woman came to him and asked a question. He was like, it's not right to give the children's bread to dogs and everything. Sometimes we have some hard things we have to say. And as a coach, and I've certainly watched your podcast, you've had to, ask some hard questions. What are some of those hard truths that we need to come into alignment with or realize to live a better life, to clear the path, as you say?
Okay. So what I will say to that is life has a peculiar way of guiding you through circumstances, situations, and experiences to what is supposed to be your authentic self. So the hard truth is accepting the guidance. I think a lot of times people get comfortable and they get in comfort zones, toxic comfort zones. And so it's difficult for them to come to the realization that if I change this situation, then I may get an outcome that I truly deserve. But that's not just, in relationships, that could be on a job. A person could be on a job 20 some years and say, I really don't like this job. I hate coming here every day. I really should find something else, but I've been here 20 years. I'm stable. It's comfortable. They're really not fulfilled, but it's that level of fear of the unknown and taking some of these chances. So a lot of times when life is putting you in certain situations and circumstances to help nudge you, and you decide, okay, I'm not going to take that nudge, then you get what you get. That's why they get us. Because coaches push them to push through the fear, to push through the anxiety, to ultimately get what you deserve and what you want. And the other thing is knowing what you want. Bishop, let
That's
me
the
tell
truth.
you, a lot of people, first you got to start off with knowing what you want.
That's right.
Write it down.
Right.
Do mental exercises that are going to encourage you to reinforce what it is you want. See, you're talking about rich living show. Like if you want wealth and prosperity, you can have that.
That's right.
if
That's
that's
right.
what you want.
That's right.
You got to decide what it is you want. If you want to be in a marriage that's fulfilling, you can have that if that's what you want. But the other person has to want that too. See, there's certain things that require two people or
That's
other
right.
people or
Right.
other things. But as long as you're in control of you, then
Mm-hmm.
you make the decision. Well, if that other person isn't giving me what I want, then
Mm-hmm.
I may need to move around where I can get what I want. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't say that lightly. I
Mm-hmm.
say that in terms of getting to the point where you can be your authentic self
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you can live true to
Mm-hmm.
yourself and
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to live a lie.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to live a lie. So that's the hardest thing to break down. That's the most difficult part of it, because people will try to use scripture to justify toxicity. Come
Oh
on, Bishop.
yes.
Come on,
Oh
Bishop.
yes.
Oh,
Come
use
on.
scripture. Well, you can't divorce. If you do this, you can't be all this stuff. They use scripture to try to justify toxicity. Toxicity. You can't justify BS. I don't care what you're looking at, the Quran, the Bible, whatever. You got to look at your life in an authentic way, and you got to ask yourself some fundamental questions. And you have one chance, one shot at this thing called life as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be in the driver's seat and control how you want to live it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that if you don't know what you want.
It starts with the decision.
Hello.
It starts
It
with the
is.
decision.
And it's hard to get people to move, because once you get comfortable, oh, I'm not going anywhere. Once you get comfortable, oh, this job, I've been here, but you really, once you get comfortable, to me, it steals some of that ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Its comfortability can steal some of that drive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think God wants us on the move. I think he wants us
Absolutely.
ambitious. I think he wants us driven. And I think he wants us living a purpose-driven life.
Absolutely. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Rich Living Morning Show. My guest today is Doc Mel, and we are having a great conversation this morning with her. Thank you for joining in. If you tuned in on YouTube or Facebook Live, please make sure you click the share button. And you can also share this directly in the people's inboxes. Sometimes my guests may be like, is Bishop paying attention to me? It's because I'm still hitting that share button, because it's people that need to hear the truths out there. They need to hear these truths this morning. Now, oh God, you just made some great points, Dr. Mel, and we're unpacking some things because we're helping some folks. When you talk about toxicity, I oftentimes would say that we learn to function dysfunctionally. We learn how to function in dysfunction. And I've got to go back in the day, kind of showing my age a little bit here. But you remember we had those dial TVs with the
Oh,
knob on it.
yeah.
And if you grew up in the urban, we don't say hood anymore, but if you grew up in urban communities, then you had some people that had those pliers when the knob was broken.
And the grit pot with that lid that had the handle missing,
Yeah,
and you use the
absolutely.
fork to pick it up. That's real
Absolutely.
old
So
school.
we knew how to work with things when they didn't work properly. We used things and we learned how to just make things work. But I think there comes a point in life, and especially as it relates to your success and living out your purpose, that you have to move beyond just making stuff work. That you are compromising yourself, you're
Mhm.
compromising your beliefs and your convictions just to make something work.
Woo, that's a whole word, Bishop.
Wow.
That's a whole word, Bishop.
Mm, mm, mm.
The question is, am I living a lie?
Oh, come on.
Or is this my authentic self?
Right.
It's
Right.
two questions.
Right.
You're either being real or you're not being real.
Right.
So I like gray areas. There's nothing wrong with different shades of gray. But
Mm-hmm.
only you know
Mm-hmm.
whether you're living an authentic life. But you
Mm-hmm.
first got to know what does that entail?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got to know what that tells. I mean, I was thinking about when you were saying that, how we used to have to make do
Mm-hmm.
and improvise. and
Yes.
figure things out.
Right.
There's this campaign going on around social media now about Harriet Tubman. If Harriet Tubman could make all the steps she had to take to freedom, this campaign is asking women, then there's no excuse why you can't make some steps.
That's right.
Hello. Now, if
Hello.
Harriet Tubman, now she wasn't in Birkenstock shoes.
No.
And she probably had a bag for her essentials, an old potato sack, something wasn't a Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And she figured out how to walk herself to freedom.
Right.
She took the necessary steps when she was facing getting caught, the possibility of being lynched, being killed. Y'all don't hear me. What I'm saying is true empowerment comes from learning from other people's stories. See, it encourages us. If they could do it then, surely I can step myself out of this abusive situation. Surely I can step myself out of this unfulfilling job. Surely I can take the risk to step myself out of whatever situation you find yourself in, sometimes that you didn't have control over, but you can somehow find the steps to take to step yourself out. If we could learn from our ancestors, women's empowerment, if we can learn from women who had to take the necessary steps, the women in Ukraine right now, they're having to take these steps, y'all.
That's right.
Think about it. If you're not up on the news, turn it on. They're taking major steps. They're leaving with 2 bags, 1 bag, everything, all their possessions, going into other countries. They are fleeing. And they may be scared. Take the step. There may be anxiety. Take the step.
What about when we sabotage ourselves? Because you can talk yourself into stuff as much as you can talk yourself out of stuff. And a lot of people talk themselves out of success. I watch people fight for their limitations. As soon as you say, give them an idea. I've coached, I've counseled business people. Their businesses are closed now because they fought for their limitations. People have not completed their degrees. They have fought for their limitations and continue to make those excuses. And it's self-sabotage. And in your work, you've dealt a lot with self-sabotage in that topic.
Well, I will tell you, I think it's rooted in childhood. I think you don't come out the womb sabotaging yourself.
That's right.
I think sometimes, and this is what we do in social work, as you know, sometimes you have to peel back some layers.
Right.
And I call it the ABC approach. The A being the antecedents that lead to B, which are the behaviors that can be constructive or non-constructive behaviors that lead to C, which are choices that result in consequences. Okay? And so to address that issue of self-sabotage, a lot of times that starts at an early age. And so we've got to reprogram some of those things that may have been programmed the wrong way. Because maybe you had a parent that didn't know any better. Show them some grace. Maybe you had a parent that raised you the way they were raised. So they thought ridicule was the way to punish a person or a child, or get a person or a child to do what they need to do. Sometimes they think, well, if I ridicule the child, if I humiliate the child, if I scream and yell at the child, if I tell the child they're not going to be nothing, that'll make them be something. A lot of times this self-sabotage is ingrained through some of the experiences some people may have had through childhood. So what we've got to do is we've got to reprogram some of those experiences, not that they didn't exist. And I think that is the way to help with dealing with you lacking the confidence, because that's what sabotage is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm going to sabotage it before, because I think if it does happen, something may go wrong. You understand?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So sabotage really is almost like a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not even going to do that, because if I do it, what if it doesn't work out?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In many instances. I'm not saying in all instances.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get to the root of the sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has to do with childhood and how you were raised and how you were disciplined
Mm-hmm.
and how your parents talked to you.
What are steps to reprogram, to shift the paradigm? Because everything is paradigm. How you view the world, and our paradigms are shaped from our experiences, like you said, childhood, education, your church background, your religious background. All of these things shape the paradigm, how you view the world, how you see the world. Walk us through, as if we were your client this morning. What are the steps we can take to reprogram our minds and get some new stuff to think about?
Well, the first step is you've got to decide that you're willing to do the work. It's not going to happen through osmosis.
Mm-hmm.
Change is not going to drop out the sky and hit you on the head, and there's going to be a certain change in your mental state and how you see things and how you view things. You're going to have to do the work. Now, what does the work entail?
Mm-hmm.
You may have to read a book.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm just going to be very honest. You
Please,
know,
yeah.
you may have to read an actual self-help book. I recommend a book. All my clients have to go through this book because it's only 21 pages long. It's called As a Man Thinketh.
Oh, yes.
By James Allen.
Yes.
That should be required reading. My nephews, anybody, Christmas, that's what I do. It's required. Because I think the first step to gaining knowledge is through some kind of book. You got to get the knowledge, even if it's through a radio program like this. This is stuff. Finding ways to get the fuel that your body needs so it can then run at an optimal level. We're not putting in the right fuel, y'all. And I'm not talking about just food. I'm talking about the things we watch, the things we listen to. Pornography. There's all kinds of things that are out there that diminish and deplete us from being our higher self.
That's right.
So you got to reach for that height. Nobody can give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I used to watch that show Dallas back in the day. So I'm real old school. Let me tell you one thing Jock Hewen said. He said, son, nobody's going to give you power. You gotta take it.
That's right. That's
and
right.
Always stuck with me.
Wow.
What you want out of this life, you're gonna have to take it. Nobody owes you anything, and nobody's gonna give you anything. And if they do, it's a gift.
That's right.
So you gotta concentrate on the work where you can take back your power.
You preaching, you prophesying.
That's what I believe.
You're speaking
and
to
that's
some
why we
people.
coach people, because they need someone to coach them and push them through this, to get them to see that you can take back your power. Nobody owes you anything, and nobody's going to give you anything, as Jock would say. You better take it. You better take control of your life.
Somebody put that in the chat. Take it. Some of y'all need to just go on and just chat that out right there. Just go and put it in the comments. Just take it. If you're sitting in the listening audience, write it down. If you're listening, just write it down. Take it. That's powerful.
And we're not perfect, Bishop.
No.
We're gonna make mistakes. There's no perfect parent. I certainly wasn't. Nobody is. Nobody's perfect at everything. We're gonna make mistakes, but the key is we've got to do the work to acknowledge things, because you can't fix something if you don't acknowledge it. So that's also a step. Acknowledgement, and then being willing to do the work.
Sometimes it's hard to do the work because we have control issues. And I have to say this because I tell people all the time, I say this on the show. And I say, I've been black all my life.
Me too.
I know black organizations. I know black people. I know black culture. And that is a spirit that is so prominent in our communities, in our families, this control thing. And there are people that aren't successful because they can't be. You can't work on yourself when you're trying to control everybody else around you in every situation. So you live a life of trying to control, stay in control because you don't want to be hurt again. You don't want to be disappointed. You don't want someone else to make a mistake. And you begin to do all of these things. And before you know it, you live a life where you've never reached your full potential or purpose because you've not dealt with those control issues. I know you deal with that as well in your work, and that's one of your topics that I've heard you speak about on your podcast. Help us with this controlling people and not wanting to let go. Especially this is women empowerment, it's women's history, because there are a lot of sisters out there of all. I'm not just talking about, when I say sister, I'm not just talking about black. Okay, there are a lot of sisters.
Mhm.
Great doors have opened up. Great opportunities have opened up for you and for other women. But this control issue is just messing the whole thing up.
It is. The first thing I thought about when you said that was weight.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women allow a lot of things to weigh them down.
Mm,
Other people's problems, other people's issues. The control comes in because there's a lack of setting boundaries. So we allow these weights to continue to build on us.
mm-hmm.
And then there's no outlet to release them. So
Mm,
once we get started being involved in a certain situation, we don't know how to let it go.
mm-hmm.
So to deal with control, you've got to also be able to deal with the yin to that yang, which is letting things that are weighing you down go.
Mm-hmm.
See, everybody has to understand that every tub sits on its own bottom.
That's right.
Now, you are responsible for you. You raise your children, they become grown, they have to live their own life, they've got to make their own decisions. Hopefully, it's geared towards some level of independence. But a lot of the stuff that weighs us down is stuff that we allow to weigh us down because we won't let go of the control. Sometimes our children, grown children, are weighing us down.
Mm-hmm.
When we can say, you know what? They just may have to skin their knee. And then they may have to go to the doctor on their own. I'm talking about skin their knee in life with
Exactly.
certain situations.
Mm,
I don't agree with that situation, but guess what? I'm not going to allow it to weigh me down.
mm-hmm.
So I think with a lot of women, it's because it's instinctive in our nurturing nature to want to help and to assist. And sometimes it's at the cost of our own health. So we neglect self care.
Mm-hmm.
We neglect eating right. We neglect exercise. We don't have time to do the things we need to do for self care because we are so busy
Mm-hmm.
caring for
Mm-hmm.
others.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to do. We need to start thinking about it in a different way because if we break down, then how are we going to care for others?
Right.
So I think the control is like
Mm-hmm.
a yin to the yang of letting go. You can
Mm,
deal with control issues if you can learn to let go of certain
mm-hmm.
things. And we need to set some boundaries.
That's
We
right.
need to set some financial boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
emotional boundaries. Look, I'm sorry you're going through this, but I can't help you with that. I got enough on my plate. I'm dealing with you. You're going to call another girlfriend. You're going to call,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that sounds cruel, Doc Mel. No, you got to know when your cup is full.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you got to be able to let go and release some of that weight.
Mm-hmm. 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 And boundaries should not be viewed as a defense mechanism, as a tool of fear. But boundaries are not just for the people outside of the boundary, but the boundary is for you.
Exactly. Kind of like forgiveness.
Uh-huh.
It's for you.
Mm-hmm.
So setting those boundaries, it allows you to work on the self-care that's necessary to be the best mother, the best wife, the best girlfriend. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? The
Mm-hmm.
best auntie, the
Mm-hmm.
best cousin, whatever role you play,
Mm-hmm.
you want to fulfill it at your best.
Mm-hmm.
So, what control does, sisters, is it weighs you down.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got to learn how to let go.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn how to let go, and letting go will allow you to operate at your best self.
Ooh, this has been great. I want to ask you this as we're narrowing down in this conversation. We definitely will have to have you back again. And I know there are a lot of
Anytime.
yeah, and I know as shout out to Miss Cheryl Roseboro, excuse me, Minister Cheryl Roseboro.
Yes, that's my family. Hey,
That's
Shirley.
right. That's right. She texted me. She said, "You got to meet my friend Dr. Lawson." And she texted me and I said, "Yes, ma'am. I will meet Dr. Lawson." So shout out to her if she's listening, or she may go back and watch this. I like to ask this question, and I've asked politicians this and everybody this. This is we are a Christian station, and I know I get a lot of people in ministry that view. What can we do in the church to really uplift women? I know we have women run the church and we have a lot of women's programs, but those don't necessarily really touch the heart of women sometimes and really get to the crux of it. What are some of the programs or things that we could be doing right now that you
Mm.
see from your work to empower and raise up women?
Oh, wow. That's an excellent question. I mean, outside of programming that's already phenomenal and that's done, is I think giving women time,
Hmm.
you know, and when I say that, I mean uninterrupted time. I think retreats are important.
Hmm.
And I don't mean church retreats like just in the church building. You
Right,
follow what
right,
I'm
right,
saying?
right, right,
I'm saying investing,
right, right.
investing in some self-care
Exactly.
on the real,
Mm-hmm.
on the real.
Mm-hmm.
That includes nutritional, guidance. That includes spiritual guidance. That includes rest,
Mm-hmm.
respite,
Mm-hmm.
relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
includes them not having to deal or think about what's going on in their lives daily, an escape. The
Mm-hmm.
church can give women an escape through some level of retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean that with all sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it needs to be well planned, well thought out.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, by a tropical rainforest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It could be, I'm just speaking truth here. It
Mm-hmm.
could be infused with nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think there needs to be some level of preparation and planning when it comes to allowing people to work and focus on self with some time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most precious thing you can give a person
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is your time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
for them to be able to have some time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what came to my spirit
Mm-hmm.
when you asked me that question.
Mm-hmm. You just helped me as a man, as a leader. And even and my wife is watching right now, Brittany. Hey, sweetie. And so you just got an idea, Pastor Brittany. You just got an idea for the women at our church. But you just said something, and I think men we can learn from that. You say you have to give a woman time.
Time,
You
time.
have to give a woman time, and you just spoke to something in my spirit. You really just calmed something down in me, And so I thank you for that word. That's why I said this moment is really prophetic, because you've said so many things. Then you have to give time, and I really appreciate you taking of your time. I know you're very, very, very busy. And of course, as the president of the Houston HBCU Alumni Association, I'm always excited when my HBCU fam is on.
Absolutely. And
Here,
we go places. We go
we do.
places. That's our foundation. It's the
That's
rock.
right.
It's solid.
That's right. That's right. I told somebody the other day, I've been telling people this. I said, I don't care if I go to Texas Southern University and get a degree in basket weaving. I just cannot live in Houston, Texas and not be a part of that legacy. It's when you see Texas Southern or Southern University in the room, I mean, it's a whole vibe.
It's a whole vibe. It's a
It's
whole vibe.
it's a whole vibe. And so I say, you know what? I some way, somehow, I've got to go back in there and become a maroon and gray tiger. So now
We
my Paul,
welcome you. We
look,
welcome
now my
you.
Paul Quinn people, because I'm a graduate of Paul Quinn. Don't get on me, because I know my Paul Quinn people will be like, did you really just say that? So, but anyway, we thank you so much and we appreciate you.
Oh,
What's next for you? What do you have coming up? Any virtual events or anything you have coming up, and your podcast, and how can those in our rich fam stay connected with Doc Mel?
well, you can connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, even that's at Doc Mail Talks. That's my
Mhm.
handle. I'm even on Facebook. I've just been asked to be included on a project that's related to a show called College Hill.
Mhm.
I'm just, wherever I'm led,
Mhm.
um, I'm going to follow in that direction. Like I said, I've had a life experience that really deconstructed me.
Mhm.
Cancer was something else.
Mhm.
For all my cancer thrivers and survivors,
Mhm.
I salute you,
Mhm.
because it was something else. And I guess it changed my whole perspective. And now I really just follow a path and a direction that makes me happy. And not that I wasn't before, but I think it's more intentional now.
Mhm.
So intentionally, I'm booking flights to see my daughter, one that's in Los Angeles, Farrell,
Mhm.
and my other daughter, Hannah, who lives in New York. She just moved there in December. And I'm making an intentional effort, at least sometimes even monthly, just to go see my kids that are grown, 25 and 29. It's the intentional piece that
Mhm.
was missing before cancer.
Mhm.
And so what cancer brought to my attention was be intentional going to visit my nephew to support him when they just had a state championship game this past weekend. And although they fell short by 2 points to make it to the state championship, I wasn't going to miss it. It
Mhm.
was intentional. So as we close this, and this is what I'm being led to say,
Mhm.
we don't know what tomorrow brings for real, y'all.
Mhm.
You really don't know.
Mhm.
So take intentional steps.
Mhm.
Be true to yourself
Mhm. Mhm.
and make decisions
Mhm.
that align with your core values.
Mhm. And with that, thank you, Doc Mel. You definitely have a space with us on the Rich Living Morning Show and the Rich Fam. I thank you so much for taking time today to encourage us, to inspire us, to impact our lives on the way that you have today. And all of you that have tuned in, you're listening, you're viewing.
And they can
Get
reach me,
up-
Bishop.
Oh,
Listen,
yeah,
my number is 832-780-9166.
you
You can
got it.
always reach out to me.
Mhm.
My website is www.docmail.info. That's another way to check out my podcast and
Mhm.
my talk show that was on Roku on the Mystic Circle channel. That it did
Mhm.
very well. That was season 1. We're looking forward to season 2. So
Mhm.
you can check me out. And if I can be of any assistance in any way, just hook me up. Let me know.
I will. I will. And I failed to mention that you are a lovely lady of Delta Sigma Theta.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
forgot to say that, Sorority Incorporated.
Hate it.
So my Delta friends will no longer be upset with me saying, you had all them AKs on your show. Well, praise Jehovah.
That's right. Well, we're part of the Divine Nine. We're part of the Divine Nine. We're all sisters and brothers, of course. But yes, I'm a part of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Absolutely.
The best
Absolutely.
sorority that there is. I love my sorority sisters. Shout out to Spring 89, Delta Gamma
Spring
Chapter,
89.
Texas Southern University, baby.
All right. All right. Thank you, Doc Mel. You have a great day today.
All
And we
right.
love
Thank
you.
you
And
for
come
having
see
me
us
on.
again.
Thanks for
All
the
right.
invitation. Bye, friends.
Bye-bye. All right, family, you've been listening to the Rich Living Morning Show. That was our inspiring conversation. And throughout the month, we will have other guests that will stand on this panel as we have this conversation about Women's History Month. We are taking this time to empower you, to impact you, and to uplift and build our sisters up. I don't think most of you noticed, but our Black History Month panel was it was filled with the brothers. It was filled with the brothers, and so I knew that was a point where we needed to uplift our sisters. And hey, it became Women's History Month. It is 921. Keep listening to us on the Rich Living Morning Show right here on Raise the Praise 100 Houston.